This week we're doing something different. It's really about answering a question that I'm asked a lot. I'm asked from friends, from family members, from people that know my investment background, and they're thinking about going into business or they've been in business. And they want to know something really specific, and I want to spend a little bit of time today addressing that. Should you buy your place of business or should you rent? Is it better to pay off a mortgage on your place of business, whether it's an office, a cafe, a restaurant, whether it's industrial, whatever it may be, whatever type of business premises you're looking at, or is it just better to rent? I'll talk about 3 things that you should consider and how I think of these things in my own business and how I've used them and really separated the conversation, made it a lot more structured, less emotional, and a lot more systematic. So let's go to the first one. When you're thinking about planning your business, you should always factor in an element of change. So businesses change, the world is changing, and to be able to remain relevant, to be able to stay consistent and do really well, it's really important for you to be able to adapt, for you to be able to change. When you go out there and buy a commercial property, whether it's an office, whether it's a retail store, it might be a place for your restaurant or your cafe, it might be a place where you house all your assets. Depends on the business that you have. But when you go out and you make that commitment, that's a long-term commitment. And that's something that's going to weigh you down. It's going to stop you from being flexible. If you go out and you purchase that office and you fit it out and you spend all that initial money up front getting it right, so when your customers come in or when your staff come in, it looks nice, that's going to weigh you down. That's going to stop you from being able to make drastic changes in your business. Now, it's all very well to have that asset there. The mentality is, I'm paying rent, I'm paying all this rent, I might as well be paying for something that I own. But just keep in mind, if it's going to stop you from changing and adapting, if it's something that you can lease out to somebody else, when you change your business, you find new locations or you try to chase business in different ways, keep that in the back of your mind. You want something that allows you to be flexible if needed, not something that's going to tie you down. One of the other things you should consider, so this is point number 2, is commercial real estate right around the world, and particularly in developed markets and developed economies like Australia, the UK, in the United States, usually requires a larger deposit than residential real estate. So when you go out and you buy a house or an apartment, for example, you usually require to put down about 20%, depends on the country, but anywhere from 10, 20, up to 30%, which is most of the time. When you go out and buy commercial real estate, the picture's very different. It's very much about the current banking environment. It's very much about how comfortable the banks are at the moment. And banks get a lot more touchy and a lot more sensitive when it comes to commercial real estate. They overreact on the way up. When the market's hot, they want to write so much commercial business. But when the market slows down, they really pull back, which means you have to factor in a larger deposit. And that deposit, let's say on $1 million purchase, if you're going out and putting 30 or 40%, which is basically the minimum for commercial real estate, but if you're going out and putting $300,000 to $400,000 on purchasing that property, that's not including your taxes, your fit outs, your modifications, and all the other expenses that come with leasing commercial real estate, with occupying commercial real estate or leasing it out to yourself. You have to keep in mind, is there a better way that you can invest that $300,000 to $400,000? Can you invest that in your business as opposed to your occupancy and generate a higher rate of return? So always weigh that up. Is there extra staff that you can bring on? Is there extra technology that you can invest in to improve your efficiency? Are there competitors that you can go out and buy? For some of you, that might not be the case. For some of you, it might just be a case of, I need this premises to make sure I'm in this market and doing this business, and I just need to have it. That's fine. But for a lot of you that don't have to purchase that commercial real estate, ask yourself if that deposit and those taxes that you usually pay up front and your loan costs can be reinvested elsewhere. Very, very important. And that's something that we constantly think about in our business. If we're investing money in rent or in leasing or in our property expenses, can we invest that elsewhere, get the same outcome and deliver a higher rate of return? So I encourage you to think about that. The third point is, again, commercial real estate is very cyclical. Okay, you can have a lot more fluctuation in commercial real estate if you decide to exit, if you decide to find a tenant because you want to leave. It's very different to a house or an apartment in a major city. You know, people always want places to live. You will always, most of the time, be able to find a tenant for your residential real estate. But commercial is very specific. You know, when the economy slows down, people need a place to live. If you're migrating, if you're moving in between houses, you need a place to live. If you're renting, you know, you need a shelter under your head. But when it comes to commercial real estate, businesses don't have to occupy that. And so if you want to change or if you want to sell up, you need to make sure that you're timing the market right. And that's an extra amount of risk. So guys, when you're going out there and thinking about buying a place to do business or renting a place to do business, just be aware of those three things. The ability to adapt, the ability to finance, and the cyclicality of commercial real estate. And renting is a lot more attractive for a lot of services businesses because they can add staff, they can remove staff, they can move into new markets. There's a lot of co-working space opening up now right around the world. The internet has made it very different to do business. And a lot of smart businesses and even larger businesses are now using co-working space in a way to manage their real estate needs without having to necessarily tie themselves down. So commercial real estate to me isn't as attractive for a business owner unless you really, really need it to justify your operations. If you're manufacturing cars, you want to make sure that you have those manufacturing capabilities. If you're a hairdresser that's targeting a certain area and foot traffic is important for you, that store, that retail presence is important. If you're a Starbucks and you need prime position, or you're a supermarket, or you're an operator that has important foot traffic or important real estate needs, then that's a different kettle of fish. But if you're in a services business, if you're providing a service and a utility to the market, and you can use the internet and you can use space more wisely, think about reinvesting that money into your business where you can get a higher rate of return. One last point. Commercial real estate usually has a higher barrier to entry. And what I mean by that is those that do really well in commercial real estate are those that are investing at a higher level. So your funds, your sophisticated investors, your property developers, you're usually looking at exceeding the $2 to $3 million ceiling, going up to $5, 10, 20, $50 million. So at that level, there's greater stakes, there's greater opportunity. In the sub $2 million market, it's more owner operators, you know, it's more people that are tied into this to buy property for the reasons that I explained to you. Where in residential real estate, there's a lot more choice, there's a lot more variability sub $2 million than there is in commercial real estate. So just make that distinction. The world's changing so quickly, and the way people were purchasing and investing commercial real estate 10 years ago has completely changed. Be aware of those changes, remember those three things, and hopefully this has been of value to you. Good luck.